What's up, guys? Today we got some champion rebalances and I'm gonna have myself extra small on the screen so that you can actually see them and my fat face isn't covering them, which couple times I have done on these videos and on the videos where I check out my gear. But we got two Sacred Order champions that are getting buffed, which is nice since, as you know, Plarium has been putting some extra effort to do many buffs this year, even though they barely did any last year, and clearly they are trying to do better on that department. None of the buffs this year have been like a massive difference. It hasn't been like the Gandraphon buff that he went from Nether Use champion to top tier. We haven't gotten any of them so far, and spoiler alert, I don't think we're gonna get it today either, but at least we're getting something, so let's talk about it. And both of the champions that are getting buffed are in the Sacred Order, Vitrius and Holsring. And here's kind of a funny thing that Holsring was so irrelevant champion that I totally forgot that I even had pulled him at some point. I can't for the life of me even recall when I have pulled him, but it's not like he's the worst champion. I mean, I guess I could use him, but I have tons of random mid-tier champions built, so I haven't really thought about him. I guess I could use him, but let's actually look at his kit. So I think the difference between these two is that Holsring is clearly intended to be some kind of boss killer, maybe like a Hydra nuker or something like that. And Vitrius is more for PvP. Let me get that big and nice for you. But let's hear what Plarium has to say. I mean, this is obviously document written by them, and the highlighted parts here, those are the ones that are the changes, and I think there's a mistake here, but we will talk about it in a second. But okay, let's hear what the Plarium CMs or devs are saying. Pretty sure this is written by devs, but I don't know. With Holsring, we wanted to make him more reliable single target nuker, so his random attacks on A1 and A2 were replaced with single target multi-hitters on top of the existing buffs and debuffs in his kit. His skill set was also enhanced by adding decreased speed and perfect well mechanics, but despite these changes, he remains a solid champion for PvE areas he was frequently used in. I mean, I'm no PvE expert, I don't think he was used in anywhere, but correct me in the comments if he was good at something. From looking at his kit right now, I feel like he might be pretty decent for Hydra. Holsring A1 will now attack one enemy 2 times and also do decrease enemy turn meter if he's under whale / perfect whale buff. That could be maybe for Dark Fae, though there's many ways to do it, but decrease speed is super good debuff. I mean, it's the best debuff to have on that boss, and you also have decreased turn meter. I guess I skipped that part. Holsring A1 will now attack one enemy 2 times and also decrease enemy's turn meter if he's under whale. A2 will prompt Holsring to attack one enemy 3 times. We're adding up to the 75 ignore of the target's defense from this skill alone, which can be further increased with the help of masteries and artifact sets. Holsring A3 will now land decreased speed in addition to Hex debuff and buff this champion with perfect well. Now if it gave perfect well for everybody, that would be pretty good Hydra set, because all of those buffs and debuffs are pretty big deal there. His passive was changed to make it easier to gain perfect well. He will now have to hit only one target, but the enemy should be under both Hex and decreased speed debuffs. Okay, then his A1 Rampant Blows attacks one enemy 2 times. Wait, why is that highlighted? Oh, okay, attacks 2 times at random, so it was changed to a specific target nuke instead of random hit. Those are kind of weird mechanics to have random hits, to be honest. I hate when Mitral does random hit on the A1, and I'm not targeting the enemy Marichka, but of course it has to hit it with the second hit, and then everybody gets block damage and it screws me up. It's especially terrible if you do ally attack and they get block damage midway during it. But anyway, that's PvP issues, and this champion definitely is not intended for PvP, but for PvE. If this champion is under Whale or Perfect Whale buff, each hit has 50% chance to decrease target's turn meter by 15%, and it didn't have anything like that before. As I said, how many bosses can you actually use decreased turn meter on? Not that many. I mean, decrease speed, I mean, he's gonna be fine for Dark Fae if you need that. He's definitely usable in Dark Fae. I wouldn't book him just to have him as a Dark Fae champion though, so not worth it for me personally. But if you have a newer account and you don't have a solid high Dark Fae team, it's definitely worth considering for that. Then on the A2, it's one enemy 3 times, and I guess it was random 3 hitter before, yeah. And apart from that, they will add extra 25% ignore defense, that is conditional if they're under decreased speed, and another 25% if enemy is Bannerlord or Night Revenant. Now, those are pretty solid factions for PvP, though I do hate these types of skills that they are limited to certain factions, but he's definitely not gonna be something that you use in endgame PvP, so you can just completely forget that part. It's not relevant. I mean, he doesn't do any AoE, he's not tanky, he doesn't do anything special. Sure, he has some ignore defense and can do okay single target damage. That's nowhere good enough to be relevant in the PvP meta, but he might be okay on some bosses that are low health, not like Hydra, where you can get big damage on like Tranda or Acresia and so on. But I think he could be pretty good on Dark Fae. I mean, he could be okay on Hydra, but I think Dark Fae is maybe the most relevant thing to use him on. Then on the A3, even though they changed the A1 and 2 from random hits to specific target, but then the A3 is still 4 times random hitter. I don't really get that part. That doesn't really work on Hydra. I mean, having only single target nukes isn't good for Hydra, even if he does have decreased speed and hex, so you can just forget about that. He's basically only for Dark Fae, and that's it. And the part that they changed is that they added that decreased speed, which I guess didn't exist on the kit before. We got decreased speed on okay, like 4 hitter, and he doesn't have the highest. I mean, I guess the multipliers are okay, we can look at it in a second. And those 2 specific factions, Bannerlord and Night Revenant, can't resist them. Again, not relevant at all because he's not good for PvP. And then also adds Perfect Fail on just himself. If it was for everybody, that could be pretty good on Hydra to avoid fears and so on, but if it's just for himself, it's not relevant. And then on the passive, if this champion attacks a target under Hex debuff, and the decreased speed debuff places Perfect Fail on this champion for 1 turn, this effect will not activate when counterattacking. Also gives you some buffs. Totally irrelevant. That wording kind of makes it a bit confusing, but I guess he does. Yeah, okay, I think I'm confusing him with the other champion. He does crit damage as well, but I think he does attack buff too. But yeah, I mean, if you have him, you probably didn't rank him up like I didn't. And if there's any place in the game that you might consider using him, would be Dark Fae, but again, the Perfect Whale is not a big deal there. X is okay, but not that big deal. X will be great on Hydra though, but he does have turn meter reduction on A1, even though it doesn't show it in game yet, and he does have the decreased speed. That makes him decent, and he has ignore defense, so he's gonna hit fairly hard, and Dark Fae doesn't have a massive health pool, so surely it can be pretty good there. I'm gonna make a Dark Fae guide as well as soon as we get to the 120. Not that I have not made one before, but gonna make a team setup with Grand Oak Bardrake, and you will see on that video that you certainly don't need this champion, but if I didn't have a team, I probably would consider building him for Hydra. But if you're just battling a single target enemy, so basically a 6 multiplier on the A2, 3.4 on A1, and whatever that is, I'm not mathematician, I guess it's 7.5, no, 6.5, no, 7, it's 7, okay, I'm dummy, ignore that, math is clearly not my strong suit, so it's 7, yeah, 7 multiplier on A3, I mean that's pretty good for a single target, again, not AoE, completely irrelevant on Hydra, basically anything but some kind of Doom Tower bosses. Maybe it could be, I mean he's not gonna be tanky, so you can't really use him on Amius. He certainly would have enough damage on those kind of basic bosses, but yeah, not like super excited about him, so he's definitely better than he used to be, so I mean that's something, but it is what it is. Plarium didn't really like shatter my mind with this buff, let's say. Okay, then we'll look at Vitrius, and by the way, just as I would definitely say that Holsring is for Dark Fae and Vitrius is for PvP. That being said, maybe I'm mistaken, I might forget specifics, but I'm almost sure that I have never battled anybody using Vitrius in live arena, and he has been in the game for a little bit, and people do in my tier, they will instantly have new primals like the day that they are released, so tons of people have him, nobody's using him, and yeah, he's pretty new champion. I mean, I said that he's been in the game for a while, but I think it's not that long time ago. Was he released last year? So it's not like he's a 5-year-old champion. He's relatively new champion, and he sees like 0 use, so it is what it is. But let's see what they first said about him, and then what they did to his kit. It's always interesting to hear Plarium's takes on this kind of stuff. So with these changes, our main goal is to elevate Vitrius' damage capabilities and make him a force to be reckoned with on Arena. At least this time they understand that this champion is for Arena and the other one is for like boss battles like Dark Fae. I don't recall what was the last thing that I made a video about, but they got it completely wrong at that time, and they were trying to push like PvE champions for Arena, but it is what it is. From now on, he will ignore even more defense when attacking opponents, will be able to self-boost with offensive buffs, and have more damage-focused build, since in the most cases he no longer requires accuracy. Now let's have a look at his kit. We have upgraded Vitrius A1 with True Fear debuff, and moreover this debuff becomes irresistible if its first hit heals this champion to full HP. If his A2 removes at least one buff from the enemy, Vitrius will buff himself with increased attack and crit damage buffs. Each hit of Vitrius A3 will now ignore 30% defense and destroy the target's max HP by 25% of the damage dealt. If the target has any active skills on cooldown, Vitrius will ignore 50% defense instead on both of his hits. Now this defense ignore is pretty good, he's gonna hit decently, but I definitely can't recall his multipliers out of top of my head. I kind of had a feeling that he had pretty low multipliers, but when was the last time that I have checked his multipliers? Probably like the day or the patch that he was released. I can't really recall them out of the top of my head. Usually I remember everybody's multipliers or the ballpark at least. Wait, I can't even find it on Ayumilav. That's how... anyway. That's how bad he is that Ayumilav doesn't even have him. I guess we have to look it up from Hell Hades. I mean, I always shield for the Hell Hades optimizer, but I hate the UI on their champion build anyway. So 3.1 multiplier on the A2 and 2.5 multiplier on the A3, that is a double hit. Not great. I mean, the A3 is gonna hit hard, but it's a single target nuke. The A2 is pretty trash, to be honest, even with that ignore defense. And of course, I guess we'll talk about it later, but he doesn't have any survivability. So for him to be relevant in PvP, in current meta with the insane power creep that we have, he needs to have some charged levels of damage that he's gonna one-shot targets through stone skin and do like 700k like AoE nukes and that kind of stuff. You need to have truly insane damage if you don't have any kind of defensive utility or other kind of like turn meter manipulation or something like that. And he doesn't, so it is what it is. But okay, let's take a look at the actual specific changes. So the highlighted parts again is what they added, so let's not even read the skill. A1 is a double hitter that heals himself, and now it does True Fear that cannot be resisted if he heals himself fully. That's not even a good thing. I mean, chances are that he's just gonna he's just gonna polymorph himself. Not only does he like remove increased def, ally protection and strengthen, which can sometimes be good if you're, let's say, Wukong, who doesn't really mind getting polymorph because he's gonna get revived anyway, and it's not gonna ruin the battle. But with this skill, if you proc polymorph, game is over, you lost pretty much. So these step ups are not good at all. 30% ignore defense is not enough on a skill that has a multiplier of 3.1. It's not gonna hit for anything, and that's his only AoE, so that makes it even worse. Then the A3 had a pretty good multiplier. It's okay, but again, it's a single target nuke. He's not gonna have really enough AoE damage to kill tanky teams, and there's plenty of champions that have good single target nukes. Like Wukong is a good example that his single target nuke is way harder, and it becomes an AoE nuke if he gets a kill. Okay, let's compare it to the current one. Yeah, so they had like conditional ignore defense on the second hit, that could be 30% or 50%. And now instead, both of the hits ignore defense and destroy HP. And again, destroying max HP is useless because, I mean, there's like 2 HP scaling nukers that are relevant. Other one is Taras, who isn't affected by destroyed HP at all, so it's completely useless. And against Narcissus, I guess it's gonna be okay, but I mean, Narcissus is gonna one-shot this champion through anything. Like, you can't have enough protections and decrease HP on Narcissus to save him from a hit, so this doesn't really help his survivability, maybe his teammates, but he's always getting one shot. This part is, by the way, actually kind of interesting. Cannot destroy a single enemy's max HP by more than 75%. That's different than other skills. Life Harvest and Rotos A2 is capped at 60% decrease HP. And I'm pretty sure all of the other mechanics were like that too. So I don't think they changed it for everybody. So I guess his ignore defense is just special, like like Taras's like multiplier scaling from original max HP and not max HP. Though this is completely irrelevant and infinitely worse, but I guess he does have his unique mechanic. And okay, that's kind of interesting part. If target has any active skills on cooldown, ball hits will ignore 50% of defense instead. You will proc that pretty often, but it's a single target nuke. George, it has way better single target nuke. And let's take a look at his passive. So I guess they reduce the cooldown by 1 turn and that's it. But again, this passive almost sounds interesting, but he would need like tons of extra text here to add him some survivability. Instantly resets the cooldown on one of these champions' random active skills whenever an enemy increases the cooldown of any of their skills. Grants an extra turn if a skill's cooldown was reset. After granting an extra turn, places this skill on cooldown. Will also grant an extra turn if an ally, mastery, artifact set or accessory decreases the cooldown of any of these champion skills. After granting an extra turn, places this skill on cooldown. So basically, you cannot be locked out and you're resetting one of your skills if enemy does it or if your team does it. And then this passive goes cooldown, so you can proc it infinitely. It's not good enough. I mean, if you had this passive on a tanky champion that had good AoE nuke, or had maybe like extra turn effect on kill or something like that, it might be interesting, but his AoE doesn't deal enough damage to kill any team. The A3 definitely can kill people, but it's just a single target nuke with decent damage. There's trillion of other ones. George, for instance, has much higher multiplier. I think his is, well, okay, they have similar multipliers. I think George is 5.7 and he was like, was it 5? So kind of similar, though George has 50% chance of ignoring the defense, and he has kind of conditional, maybe slightly more reliable. I mean, now we get the guaranteed 30% ignore defense and very likely 50%. So there's that, but it's gonna hit less than George's A3. And the big part here, George's A3 ignores Stone Skin and grants an extra turn on a kill. So you can't even compare these. They're basically the same skill, except George's is like way worse. It does more damage and it ignores Stone Skin and gives you extra turn. That's how you can make a squishy champion work, if he's able to one-shot enemy, even if you go first, and then get an extra turn, because obviously this champion is not gonna work in any type of go-second teams, and enemies are just sitting in reaction in the best scenario, or in 4 or 6 piece Stone Skin, so he's obviously not gonna go through that. Not even with the new mastery, whatever it's called, that gives you 100% additional damage against Stone Skin. It's, well, maybe against squishy champions, but you get my point. Certainly not against anybody with some levels of HP, but he's still irrelevant, so I would like to bring you good news and like say that everything is cotton candy and rainbows and we have a new Meta Boy champion. Certainly not. I mean, there's many fusions that are much better options than him. He's getting buffed, so it's good, I guess. But it's not relevant, and it's kind of the same deal with both of them. I would almost say that Holsring is more relevant out of these two. If you need a Dark Fate champion, Holsring might be your guy, because decrease speed, there's actually not too many good champions that do that are like nukers and would fit it. There's many champions that do increase speed on your team, but decrease speed is actually much more important on bosses, because you're lapping them anyway, and you're also reducing the Dark Phase turn meter by other methods. So decrease speed is very good there. If you really want to min-max and try hard, I would definitely say that Holsring is your Dark Fae guy. As far as Vitrius goes, completely irrelevant. If I had him, I wouldn't level him up, even when I'm a PvP player. And to be honest, I don't think I'm gonna rank Holsring up because my team works fine. I mean, I do have Acresia, to be fair, but not like I need it. But let me show you what I'm... It wasn't going through even when I was spam clicking it. This is what I'm running. Oh, I forgot to do the boss today. Good reminder. I probably would have forgotten about it otherwise. This is what I run on Dark Fae. We do it like, yeah, 33 turns. It's gonna be pretty much the same on the last level. You could easily replace, like, you could run like one AoE nuker and multiple allures and armigers. You can easily get it done that way. If you want to spice up your Dark Fae a little bit and make it faster though, then Holsring can certainly be good, and probably he would be worth it for me too if I really wanted to min-max this. Maybe I would put him here instead of Allure. I think that could make sense, but unlikely that I'm gonna do it. We will see. Anyway, did I spoil your day by being negative? I hope not. I'm just trying to be factual and not sugarcoat it too much. So if it was a good thing, I definitely wouldn't try to be negative on purpose either. But yeah, that's it. Tell me how you feel about it in comments, or probably you don't feel about it in any way, because unlikely that you have Vitrius, and if you had, you didn't use him, and you're not gonna use him now either. That's it. Have a nice day and see ya.